Hello and welcome to Infodumping with two nerds in a truck. Today we are talking about Sandbanks Provincial Park.
Well, first, let's say we have been doing this as TLDRs, and we've recently made the change, so now it's going to be info dumping.
Yeah,
So
our TLDRs ended up fairly long, and we hope you enjoy them, but we decided to call it Infodumping because that's really more appropriate.
that's what we do. We're two autistics, and we're info dumping like mad about our campgrounds. So info dumping with two nerds. There we go. So Sandbanks.
Yes, Sandbanks is massive. I'd heard a lot about it, had never been there before. I was excited to see it.
Well, you were kind of terrified to see it too. Let's be real.
Well, whenever there's something massive, I just picture crowds and crowds of people. So I am terrified based on that.
But, well, and that's all we'd ever heard about. Because to me, Sandbanks was right there with Wasaga, and we'd actually been there for Wasaga on Canada Day and seen that kind of chaos.
Yep.
And everything I've seen about Sandbanks makes it sound like as bad as that. So it has been kind of I was nervous. I was curious, but nervous. But recently we were staying at Presqu'île Park, so we decided to also book a few days at Sandbanks, completely off the main season because we're not that masochistic.
Right. We were out there early May, so it was much more reasonable.
So what was interesting was, like the beach, that the park is known for its beach. That is 100%. That is the whole draw of that park is the beach. And we found that it was actually good for something else.
We did.
But we will get to that in a bit.
All
right. We
right.
have a lot to talk about with this one, and there's going to be a lot of ranting involved.
So, yeah. Let's dig into those details.
Okay. Why don't you tell us about the basics?
So the basics, Sandbanks Provincial Park is located in Picton, Ontario, and that's just on the east side of the GTA area. So
about an hour from Presqu'île.
Yep. Yep, about an hour away. Perfect. So registering, you're going to use the Provincial Park website like usual. We booked 5 months ahead of time, which is early as you can, 7 a.m. as usual. And we got a site, no problem, partially because we were on the off season.
So the thing is, that's where things kind of went downhill. The booking was easy. As we were approaching the park, I had booked this 5 months before our stay. This is on me, but I forgot that there are two different gates at Sandbanks. So as we were pulling up, like I had just Googled Sandbanks Provincial Park. Now, a lot of times when there's multiple entries to a place, it'll say, did you mean blah? Like if you go Bruce Peninsula National Park, it'll say, did you mean the campsite or whatever? So it just said Sandbanks Provincial Park, so I didn't think anything of it. So we get within, I want to say, half a kilometer of it, and all of a sudden there's a sign saying East Gate this way, West Gate that way.
Yep.
And there was something about which campgrounds were at each, or did I Google and find that? I can't remember. But one way or the other, I got it in my head that it's like, well, which campground are we in? And I had no idea what campground we were staying in because I only knew the number. It didn't say, campground, numbers, blah, blah, blah. So I was Googling like a madman trying to get into my reservation and whatever. And we ended up just going through the East Gate.
Yep.
Which was the wrong gate.
Of course.
So it started off weird like that. And then there were some weird signage issues. And logistically, it ended up just being kind of a crap show of a park in general, I will say. That was...
Yeah, so pulling in, all of a sudden there's a sign saying large vehicle, stay to the right, and it has a little picture of a trailer.
So are we talking signage now then, or?
Well, I'm talking check-in.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the check-in booth on the left has the green light, they're open, and then the sign is telling me to stay to the right.
And there were two of them to the right, and both of them had a red light.
So I'm like, well, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. And I'm looking at this lane in the left going, I can get through there, no problem. So I went in the left lane. I said, hey, mentioned the sign. And she's like, yeah, you made it through, no problem. So I'm like, oh, I guess I could have gone through. So they checked us in. It was not a problem. And they said, yeah, you can just check in here and go to the West Gate. We'll give you the map and tell you how to get there. Their directions were not all that detailed or clear or correct.
They didn't really follow what the map was doing. Like there were turns in the road that weren't intersections that she was counting as turns. Like when you tell someone, oh, go right, left, or whatever it was she said, the rights were not intersections. They were, the road will take a 90-degree turn to the right, which threw me because if there's no other option, I don't count that as you're turning right. You know what I mean? Anyway, it is still a paper permit park. So we got 3. One was for the stationary vehicle, one for the post at our site, and one was a daily permit for the tow car. So anyways, now there's going to be a lot in this park where we're going to refer back and forth.
Yeah.
Just because like registration had some messed up stuff with regards to signage and maps and whatever. And then the park map is going to, you know what I mean? It's going to be a convoluted, it's going to be like that time at MarsCon when I was trying to explain that drama to everyone. You remember?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's only a handful of people listening to this. They're going to understand what I'm talking about, but they're going to understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, the park map. So the park map I had a huge issue with because this park is massive. And it's massive in both size and what's the word I'm looking for? Not amenities, but features, I guess. Things that you would want to see on a map, right? It is sprawling. And I feel that the 11 by 17 map that you get, and it's only one side of it is maps. One is the overall campground park map, I guess, crammed to about maybe a third of the page, you know, and then the rest of the page is divided up between 4 other maps. One has 2 campgrounds, and the other 2 have a campground each. Now, when you look at a park like Algonquin, it's got a bunch of different campgrounds also, and it's sprawling, and it has a newspaper map, and it has proper space dedicated to each of the campgrounds. Sandbanks is a park that really needs to do that. The map as it is left a lot of stuff out. There were a lot of inaccuracies beyond that. And you have to have a magnifying glass if you're looking for your site on there, it is tiny print. I have young eyes. I've got really good eyes. My eyesight is great. If I was older and didn't have eyesight like as good, that would throw me. It's tiny print. There's just no reason for it. Personally, if I was in charge of the things at Sandbanks, I would be doing the newspaper style one and giving proper information to the campers. And I'd have just kind of a day use map because this would work totally fine.
Right.
If it wasn't for the campgrounds.
Yeah.
You know, if they had the day use area as the folded 11 by 17, that would be perfectly fine. The campgrounds definitely need more of a map. Some of the campgrounds are more or less okay for the size they are on that map, but the Cedars campground and Outlet River campgrounds are squished. So anyways, as far as some of the omissions go, we had the same problem at Presqu'île that a lot of the omissions are disability related. There is absolutely no disability information on that map. You can't tell which washrooms or comfort stations or parking lots or anything are wheelchair accessible. That is a huge issue when it comes to the beach, and I will get to that when I go on my accessibility rant. Actually, a lot of the omissions I'll just get to in my accessibility rant. And then there's some weird things with regards to like visitor center and stuff like that. And I guess we'll talk about that in a bit as well.
Yep.
I was not a fan of the map. I think it's probably a cost saving issue for them, but I was just really not a fan of the map. What I was a fan of though was we got this little handout that was like, I don't know, 5 by 7 inches or something, or 4 by 7 inches.
Sounds right.
And it wasn't laminated, but it was kind of, you know, the shiny cardstock you get when you get a business card.
Yeah.
It was like that. It was like that shiny cardstock. And it was a trail map only. And it was this little, it wasn't quite pocket size, but you could fold it to pocket size, I'd imagine. But it had amazing information on all the trails. It was like the trail name, how long it was, the difficulty, what kind of things you'd see on there, if dogs were allowed, if it was wheelchair accessible. Take that with a grain of salt. We will get to that in a bit. And what else was there? If bikes were allowed, because some bikes don't have allowed. I thought that was perfect. I would love to see that at more campgrounds. Anyways, what do you want to tell us about the signage? So, there's going to be a rant here too.
I'll start out saying overall signage is good. There are signs everywhere. There's signs pointing you, this is this direction, this is that direction, clear, highly legible, things like that. The issue I had was the west gate.
Well, and the larger vehicles thing was weird.
Oh,
we
yeah.
already talked about that. But so basically the thing was when we came into this, like we had 2 major signage issues.
Yep. After we checked in, we finally got to the west gate. We went through because we had already checked in. And immediately afterwards, you come to a T. There's a one-way sign, the traditional white background, black arrow pointing to the right.
You had that backwards.
Okay, there's a one-way sign, traditional black background, white arrow to the right, and it says exit. And I'm like, that's weird. This says exit, but this is the way to go, right? It's got to split off or something. And so I go to the right, and it goes right back to the road we were just at.
Yeah.
And so then I had to circle around and go through the gate again. The gate attendant probably was laughing at us.
I'm sure they take bets. I'm sure they take bets on how many people are going to get screwed up by that.
Yeah.
And I had to, after that, I had to message one of our friends, Gord. And I'm like, Gord, if you see a sign that's a white arrow pointing to the right on a black background, but it says exit, are you taking, is that by default a one-way? Because I was questioning my sanity. I'm like, that is a one-way. It doesn't say one-way, but if you do that white arrow, that is a one-way. And he confirmed, no, we're not insane. That was poor signage.
Right. And so the issue is, it is one way when you turn right, but you can turn left. It's not telling you can't turn left, but it's not clear because it's right in front of you, pointing
like
to the
dead
right.
center of that intersection. It's not in, because I can't remember because I haven't seen one in a while, but I've seen signs like that where it'll be one way starting to one side of an intersection.
Yep.
And there's always some kind of indication that it says starting here or from this point or like whatever, or they'll have it on the one side of the intersection. They don't have dead center like that.
Yeah. So it was not an appropriate placement for that sign. We eventually obviously got through, turned left, and went on our way.
Honestly, even if they had a second sign below it that said campground entrance to the left, that would have helped. Like, just have some sort of, it's like at one thing that's got me, and it's happened at a few campgrounds, and we saw it most recently at Lake of Two Rivers, is that they have a parking sign in the beach, and it has a big no parking sign, but then it has a disability sign above it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that is wrong. Like, don't do that. Like, if you just have the disability sign, then that says you don't park there unless you're disabled. If you have the no parking sign, it was like, what do I do?
Yeah.
It's just clarity is a good thing, and I find a lot of parks seem to be lacking that. We don't mean to sound like crabby. It's just like we were at the end of a drive, and we'd already gone to the wrong gate, and again, that's on me. And then there was weirdness, and then there was more weirdness, and then we had to loop back, and it was just kind of one thing after another. So we showed up pretty crabby.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to waste and water. So it's split up. There's 3 different trailer sanitation areas. There's the Westlake Campground where we stayed, the Woodlands Campground, and the Cedars Campground. They're all right by the entry of each respective campground that they're in. So the Westlake Campground is a really large one. So you drive in, you finally turn left. Once you figure out that one-way road,
and you can see it from there too. Like, you can see the campground to your left when you're there. I just figured what it was this was going to take us around to an entrance to the campground, like that.
Exactly.
This was the exit. But anyways.
So they've got it set up really smart where if you're coming into that campground, on your right are the fill stations, and there's 2 stations, 2 lanes, and if you were to drive straight through, that's your bypass. There's the 2 lanes are off to the side. And so a lot of people will fill up when they go to the campground and then dump when they leave. And that is exactly how they have it set up, because if you were leaving the campground, then the dump stations are, again, 2 lanes conveniently on your right. Now, we like to dump and fill when we leave a campground, so we just kind of looped around. It's large enough to make that loop-de-loop, even though we have a large motorhome with a trailer that we're towing. So it's a big, nice area.
Yeah, picture basically the main road that goes from that stupid intersection to the actual campground. So it's a straight shot, but it's got a circle around it.
Yeah.
Like the whole dump station, fill station is a big circle that goes around that main road.
Yes.
So you can drive right through it. That is the bypass lane. And it's beautiful. That was a pretty slick setup.
Yeah, it was.
That was possibly my favorite dump station setup until another one that we'll talk about another day.
All right. The Woodlands Campground is...
well, all hoses are threaded on this. We did not say that.
All hoses are threaded, correct. The Woodlands Campground is kind of more of a, what I would say, traditional, where you've got the dump and fill right together in one lane. As you're leaving that campground, it's going to be on your right. You can make a U-turn if you needed to do any of those activities before you go in.
Single lane, there is a bypass lane, and both the dump and fill hoses on that one were threaded.
Yes. Now, the Cedars Campground is, I'm assuming, a really old system, because it's like
It's a weird setup.
it's kind of like a dirt road over in that area. So if you're driving towards the campground, all of a sudden it's on your right, and you have to make a U-turn. So I guess it's
and like a pretty sharp U-turn.
yeah. So I guess it's designed to dump as you leave, but it's kind of a small little, just crammed in there section. I guess functionality is the main thing. It's just comparing to these other two campgrounds, it's not nearly as nice.
And we discussed these in the order of like the best to the worst. So it's
Yeah.
like the West Lake Campground. I always call it Westgate or West Lake Campground has the best one. The Woodlands one is not as good, but it's super acceptable. And then the Cedars one, I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. Logistically, I'm not a fan of how they laid that out.
So there are water taps around the park as well. On the map, they are noted by little round dots. That round dot is not in the legend of the map. So
yeah,
this is your legend right now. We're telling you.
That is fairly standard for the Ontario provincial parks, but like there are
It
new
is.
people taking up camping every year,
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people that aren't going to know that the blue dots are
Yeah,
water taps, Don't put something on a map if you don't say what it is.
Right. They have a legend. They just didn't bother.
They have
to
a
include
large
it.
legend.
They do.
It's not a super accurate one.
It's a legendary legend.
We're going to rant about the maps throughout this whole thing. I'm telling you now. Anyway, for garbage and recycling, I think almost every campground has a large garbage and recycling area at the entrance to that campground. The weird thing is like there's Outlet River Campground A and Outlet River Campground B. And then kind of like a weird loop in between them. Outlet B is the only one of those two campgrounds that has a garbage station, as far as we could find it. Like in terms of the big ones in the beginning, it's the only one that has the garbage at the beginning. But no wait, now I can't remember. Did Sandbanks have the garbages on the? Yeah, Sandbanks has the garbage on the map. Sorry, Presskill was the one that didn't have garbages on the map. Outlet River A or B, the one with the garbage, was closed during our stay, and Outlet River A was open, and they're the ones that didn't have the garbage. You'd think you'd have the garbage if you're only going to have one of the two. You'd have it at the one that's open more of the year. Weird. Anyway, tell us about connectivity.
So we had really good reception. We are on Rogers Wireless, and we had no issues at any time in the park. The caveat being there was nobody else in the park.
I mean, there were people.
Yeah,
we weren't alone, but it wasn't like the giant end times chaos fest.
So signal strength was very high. However, when you get that beach filled with people, you may find that your connection rate is slowed down because of it. I can't guarantee one thing or another, but we had good signal.
Yeah. So.
Well, why don't you tell us a bit about accessibility?
Okay, are you just going to take like a whole dinner break at this point? Because this is going to be a bit of a rant.
I'll just take a little minute and a half. You tell us all about it.
Accessibility was an issue that when I was writing the blog post for this, I didn't even know where to start, and I'm still not sure that I organized it properly just because there's so much and it was so interconnected, the issues. It's going to be a rant. So, one of the annoyances about this park is that so many barriers of entry to this park are ones that are just so easy to fix. It would be just a few strokes of a keyboard, like just very simple, issues where someone didn't put any thought into anything. So that makes it almost more maddening because it's not like this entire park is on hills and they didn't put, 45-degree Moby mats on or anything. It's not like that. It's like literally they didn't give information about stuff and whatnot. Okay. So we'll talk about the information first. The park map and the website don't have a lot of information about the accessibility, and the park in a lot of ways is more accessible than it actually lets on the website. So the map itself doesn't have any info about the accessibility. And the big issue with that, so I'm not a wheelchair user. I've had times where I have been completely immobilized and need to use a knee cart or just not walk though. So I'm totally sympathetic to what it's like trying to get around when you can't really get around. With not having accessibility information on the map on this particular park, with the logistics of this park, the layout, the size, the way the parking lots are, the crowds, there's going to be lineups and all that. It's really not cool that they have the disabled visitors have to drive around to try and find where things are.
Yeah.
Because there's 12 or more parking lots for the beach.
Yeah.
And 2 of them have disabled access. And they're not like the first two either. So you'd
Right.
have to go in and out of several lots to find the disabled access ones. When you're talking the campgrounds, like none of them are labeled with anything. I feel like when you have a giant, honestly, any park should have the disability information on the maps, and most of them do. So when you come across one that doesn't, and it's a big giant one with crazy logistics and everything like that, it's excessively uncool. And I get that it's because they squished all the maps on one page, but that's another reason why I think they should have much bigger maps. Because if you have to leave your disability information out, you need a bigger map.
Yep.
Full state. That's it. So, anyways, there are two little, like, as far as like the omissions, because I'd mentioned there'd been omissions, right? So there's no information about which vault toilets are, which beach entrances are. But there's also the weirdest thing is that there were 2 parking lots in Outlet River Campground A that opened out onto that little campers beach at Outlet River that were disability parking only. And I don't think I've ever seen that where the entire parking lot is only for disabled guests. Those 2 parking lots do not exist on the map at all. You would not know that there's beach access there, nothing. They're not there in any way. Again, it would be really nice to know that you have this option to go park there. And you're probably going to get parking there because it's all disabled, not on the map. Yeah, I think that's it as far as the information goes. They need more information on the website. They need more information on the map is what it comes down to. So, as far as accessible facilities go, registration does not require getting out of your vehicle at either gate because they have that kiosk kind of service out the window. The main park store, which is the one that's halfway along the outlet beach strip, the main strip, has barrier-free parking. I think it was 2 or 4, I can't remember, parking spots. And it's got an accessible entrance to the door. Inside the store is wide aisles, so that is barrier-free. Each of the campground comfort stations is designated as being barrier-free and having at least one barrier-free shower. Now, some of the campgrounds were closed during the time of our stay, so I can't comment on all of them. But what I can say is that the Westlake Campground Comfort Station was the best of all of them, the most accessible. They were bigger, newer facilities. They had better access up to the facility. The other thing is that the Westlake Campground is the only one that I could find that had accessible vault toilets. Every single one of the vault toilets in Westlake was accessible. In Woodlands Campground, the more centrally located of the 2 Woodlands one, which is the one that's kind of closer to the front of that campground, is more accessible than the one further back. But the one further back is the one that has the barrier-free campsites next to it. There was no disability parking at the other one, at the further back one, which was a little odd. The comfort station, we only saw one of the 2 comfort stations in Outlet River A. That was nicer than the ones in Woodlands, but not as nice as the one in Westlake. And yes, it was accessible. That was the one that's closer to the beach. It's right across from the disability parking on the beach end there. Yeah. So basically, yeah, I didn't see a single accessible vault toilet in any of the campgrounds except for Westlake, and they were all accessible there. So overall, I would say the Westlake campground's by far the most wheelchair friendly. It just kind of sucks that it's the furthest away from the bulk of the entire park.
Right.
It is the closest one to the nicest beach, in my opinion. And it's the beach that we end up spending the most time at, even though we weren't at the beach itself. Okay, so accessible camping. So as I was saying, the Westlake campground is the most accessible by far. But what I didn't mention is that there's no information on the park site about barrier-free campsites at all. So we just kind of happened across them as we drove around. Now, I did go back later and I went into the reservations portal.
Yep.
And I found that I think all of them all of them except Richardson's had barrier-free sites. They're just not reflected on the map at all. Most campground maps will have like a square around the barrier-free ones or whatever.
Yep.
There's nothing on the map. If you look at the map, you don't even know that they've got barrier-free campsites. On the website, they have 2 opportunities that they could put barrier-free campsite mentions. That's in the barrier-free section of amenity or of facilities.
Yeah.
Or in the campground section, and it's not mentioned at all. Like you wouldn't even know that they have them there. So that's annoying. So yeah, Richardson's is the only one that doesn't have a barrier-free site, but it also doesn't have a comfort station, so it's not a big loss there. So accessible beach access is the next thing. So Lakeshore Beach is my favorite beach, and we'll get into that in a bit. There are a couple accessible parking spots at kind of the south end of that one. The path to the beach is a lot flatter there. The other access points are very hilly and a bit more long in the sand and whatnot. So there's a flatter path out at the point of the accessibility parking spots. There's no Moby mat there, so it's not wheelchair accessible because it's that really soft sand.
Right.
I have to want. They've got to put a Moby mat out.
A seasonal Moby mat?
A Moby mat. Yeah, I can say Moby mat. Anyway, out in the summer, I'm assuming. Anyway,
I hope.
I would hope so, because otherwise it's not wheelchair accessible. So anyways, if you're not a wheelchair user, but you have mobility issues, it's also the easiest path to go there, even without a Moby mat. The sand is the soft kind that you sink into, though. So it was really rough on my foot tendons. The weird thing is that's the only accessible beach access there, and they've got that accessible beach access, but none of the vault toilets there had any accessibility. They weren't barrier free, which is weird. You'd think they'd have a barrier free washroom at a major beach that has barrier free access.
And there's like 3 or 4 of the vault toilets there.
I think there's more than that. I think
Are
there's
there?
like 6. Like there's quite a few. So Outlet Beach. Whew. This is a massive beach. So it's got, I think it was something like 12 parking lots.
I think so.
So only the how do I put this? When you go there, you basically drive up a road and half the parking lots are on your right side and half are on the left. All of the beach access points are on the right, and most of the beach access points, like to get from the parking to the beach itself, are wild, like feral trails to get up to the beach. 45-degree angles and higher, like we saw some that were just you're almost straight up at points. Like I have never seen that, and it's sandy for a lot of it's nuts. I can't imagine carrying your beach stuff up with you. Like that is hiking, you know. So, anyways, P4 has a few disability parking spots that are labeled as handicapped, which I kind of
side-eyed
because I haven't seen anyone use that in like a very long time. So I guess they're probably old signs. Anyway, they're near the front of that parking lot, and they're next to a comfort station that has barrier-free facilities, and that also has a flat open walkout to the beach, but it didn't have a Moby mat. That has got to have a Moby mat, I'm sure. Like, I'm positive they put one out, you know? So basically, then P8 also has the same sort of situation where there's disability parking up front. It's next to a comfort station that has barrier-free access and barrier-free washrooms. Then there's Dune Beach. That was near the Westlake Campground.
Yep.
That I don't know why they even have barrier-free stuff there. That is not friendly to barrier-free at all. And it's not a pretty beach, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to go to the effort of traversing across sand like that, I don't know. I think I'd want a better beach. But anyways, they do have some accessible parking spots in its own lot off to the left side. And this is another issue where there's weird signage because it says that like there's like a don't enter sign and it's like authorized vehicles only. Now when I see authorized vehicles only, that is park staff. But then it says authorized vehicles only and the disability sign. So it's like, yeah, I don't like that. Anyways, you have to go where it says authorized vehicles only in order to park in the accessible parking.
Yeah.
Again, there was no Moby mat or anything. So the actual access to the beach from that point without a Moby mat is not wheelchair accessible in the slightest. Whew, okay, so then there's the accessible camping beach access. Now, the camping beach is that beach that's over in the Outlet River campground. And as I said, there's 2 parking lots that open out on the beach. Very short walk to the beach.
Right.
One of them had a Moby mat. The other one didn't. I'm assuming the other one will have a Moby mat at some point. Several parking spots for each, and they're only for people with disability placards. Neither one of them's on the map. So the first one is across from like site 17-ish, right across from the comfort station area there. That section of beach is nicer than the other one. It's a very sandy beach, and that's the one that didn't have a Moby mat. The second one's a bit further up along that same road. It's across from campsite 37. That one opens out into a rockier beach. You actually went out to that because I was having a really rough day that day.
The Moby mat ends pretty early on the beach, but the sand is really that hard pack with a lot of rock in it. So I'm not sure about wheelchair use, but I think a lot of mobility aids you'd be fine to keep going.
I would have had an easier time on that?
I think you would have. But the beach there isn't very nice. There's a lot of weeds. If you look to your left, there's a sign saying no swimming beyond this point because the undertow is too strong.
Yeah.
And it's really rocky. You would not want to lay out a towel and lay on it. It's not that kind of beach.
And the mopey mat at that one was in rough shape too. Like that looked like it had been there for years and just half covered, and it was lumpy. Like it needed to be regraded underneath for sure.
It kind of felt like, why are you making this accessible when there's other places that you could make, add accessibility instead? You know what I mean? Like it didn't seem like a worthwhile
afterthought.
It didn't seem like a worthwhile area to spend the resources.
Oh, we talk about accessible hiking trails.
Oh.
Oh my God, Sandbanks! What are you smoking? Seriously. So there's only one trail at Sandbanks that's mentioned as being barrier free. Specifically points out barrier free on their campsite.
Yes.
And I think it does it in two places, if I recall correctly. I think it's under barrier free, like the section under amenities or facilities. And I think it's also mentioned on the trail itself. So basically, there's the Dunes Trail, and it's, I think, 2 kilometers long on the outside, and it's got a 1 kilometer loop on the inside. The 1 kilometer loop is known to be barrier free. It is labeled as barrier free on the site, on the map, on the trails map, I think, too. But it's mostly flat pack gravel. And then when you rejoin kind of the main loop that goes further outside, you hit some boardwalk.
Yeah.
And then the trail continues down to the boardwalk, down off to the right.
Yes.
Right? By down, I mean there's 2 steps. So to continue along the actual trail. And now, to be clear, like I thought, well, maybe they meant you're supposed to go up to the beach and around, because if you continue to the beach, there is a ramp down off the boardwalk.
Yeah.
But you have to get across the beach that, as I said, didn't have a moving mat at the time. And then you'd have to go up to the disability parking area. You're going to the trailhead, which you would do for a loop trail.
Right.
You have to go like up the road. This is nowhere near it. So basically, I got off the boardwalk and did that part of the trail. And I looked at my mapping software. Yes, I was still on the barrier-free loop. That I had to go down several steps. I think it was 2 steps down.
Yeah.
They're full-size steps. Like it wasn't like a little. You're not getting a wheelchair up or down that, and there's no way around it either. Like it's not like there's a little side path that you can rejoin. There's nothing. You go up and down the steps, or you don't.
Yeah,
That's it.
I looked around because I was hoping there would be something that was just out of sight, but no, there's actually water to the sides.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go. So
you have to walk that trail or wheel it, I suppose. Yeah. And then get to a certain point, and then you just turn around because there are steps there.
Yeah, so that could make your trip a lot longer than you anticipated if you got stuck. So
but wait, why would you label it as barrier? And it was labeled barrier-free loop, and it's on the trailhead signage. Like this was everywhere. This wasn't an afterthought. I think they were proud of their barrier-free trail that has stairs involved.
And it's so close because it's a nice boardwalk, and it's a nice, well-packed gravel trail.
And there was plenty of room for them to put a ramp in instead. Like they could have had a little ramp off to the side to continue that trail. It was a straightaway for a long distance from there.
It was.
They could have put a ramp there. They didn't, and they still call it barrier-free. What?
And there is no way that this was like a maintenance issue either. This is definitely, it is not. There's no ramp there. What are you doing, you guys?
This is why I'm saying, and I'm not even done the accessibility stuff. There's so much wrong with you, and it doesn't need to be. Like this is one of the things where it could have been. It's a little bit more work to put a ramp in, but honestly, it's got to be easier to build a ramp than it is to build stairs, right?
I mean, it takes a few more pieces of wood, but you're out there with the crew. Just do it.
Yeah, but it's like a lot of this stuff is like, you know what? Mention this on the website. Mention this on the map. Put a sign here. This is minor stuff that is a huge accessibility issue.
Yeah.
If you don't have the accessibility information on the map, people have to drive around. And if that crowd is parked, like Gord told me that they have lineups of cars out to the highway to get into this place in summer. Yeah. Now, I'm just picturing a park where you have to line up out to the highway to get in there, and you're disabled and you're looking for somewhere to pee, and you have to try and get in and out of parking lots to find out which one has it. That's crap.
It is.
That is crap. Anyway, as far as the accessibility trails go, there was another one actually mentioned on the trail signage as being barrier free. Which one was that? Oh, I'm blanking. I think it was the Lakeshore Trail. But I was surprised because everywhere was saying that, oh, you've got the one trail that's barrier free. Do you remember which one that was? I think it was
No.
the Lakeshore Trail. But anyway, um, so yeah, going back to the Dunes Trail, just to give you the information. If you're doing the trail clockwise from the trailhead, you're going to travel along packed gravel, and then that's where you get up to the boardwalk, and then that's where you come to the issue. If you do it counterclockwise from the trailhead, it's going to be a much shorter trail, and it's just packed gravel, and then you come to the stairs. So if you want a bit more of a scenic, then you're going to go the clockwise, and then I guess just turn around when you get there if you need to. So anyway, aside from the Cedar Sands Trail is moderate, and that main loop of the Dunes Trail, because you did that one, because I was going to do it, and I looked at it, and there was a steep hill of sand,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
no way I can do a steep hill of sand. So um, all of the other trails in the park are marked as being easy. So we walked at least part of all of them. They were all wide and flat. They were all well packed ground. I was having a really bad go of my tendons during our stay, and I was able to walk on all of them no problem. If I'd actually put myself in a boot, which I should have, I wouldn't have had any problem at all with any of the remaining trails. And then I guess just the last information, I think that's the last information about accessibility I got to talk about, is that the beach has 2 all-terrain wheelchairs available to borrow, but it's a first come first serve basis. One is the big like kind of beach wheel type ones, and then one's the floating type.
Okay.
They're only available after July 1st, though, and they require a $100 deposit. There's no information anywhere on where you'd go to get this, so I think I'll probably ask park staff at some point, but I would call ahead. And also the first come first serve kind of sucks too,
It does.
you know, because if you're gonna, it's not a small undertaking
Yeah.
to go to a beach disabled and then just hope you can get.
Well, if you have to reserve your parking there, why can't you reserve that?
Yeah. So okay, I need a break. How about you tell us about pets?
All right, so dogs are definitely welcome at Sandbanks. We saw lots of them. Standard rules at all our Ontario provincial parks: keep them leashed at all times, don't leave them unattended, pick up after them, and properly dispose of the waste. Don't let them harass people or wildlife. They're not allowed on any of these swimming beaches.
Not that stopped anyone.
Well, yeah, we did notice people take them on swimming beaches, but hey, whatever. There are some dog beaches. There's, I guess, technically 3, but one of them is just kind of a big one with a little split in it. So there's the Lakeshore Beach, which is really cool.
Gorgeous.
It is beautiful.
Gorgeous.
That's where I guess I would recommend going if you're nearby there. The Outlet River Dog Beach is the one where it's kind of 2 because there's a river between, but it's really that same area.
Yeah, it's either side of the mouth of the river. Going back to the Lakeshore Beach one though, is you have to walk a fair distance to get to it. So it's more beautiful, much better views. The sand is nice or whatever, but the Outlet River one is much easier access. So
Fair enough.
Something to mention.
Yeah. So on the Outlet River Campground A, you can get to the dog beach on that side. The other way, like you said, if you go to the amphitheater, you can get there. I found it a little odd because if you park at the amphitheater parking and you're ready to go take your dog to the beach,
And there's a sign right there for the dog beach.
Yeah, there's an offshoot to the beach, like almost immediately as you're walking just towards that amphitheater, and it says no dogs beyond that point. I'm like, oh, okay. So I kept going, and you have to go all the way past the amphitheater, there's a comfort station there, and way to the edge of the water.
You pass a picnic shelter too, right?
Yep, there's a picnic shelter on your left, and you have to go way around the outside to get to it. So it's you can get to it, but it's not really
a hassle.
Yeah,
you definitely wouldn't want to do that if you're parking there in the summer.
Yeah,
because you'd want to probably. Well, I would hope you'd be camping too, but yeah. Speaking of parking.
So
there's a ton of parking there, but it still kind of feels like it might be not quite enough for the crowds that we hear of. And I think figuring out which you can get to would be an issue. Now, I'm not sure if you have to register for a specific lot, because I know you have to actually register for parking there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's beyond having a daily vehicle permit. So if you go in with a seasonal permit, you actually do have to reserve a beach parking spot as well.
Okay.
Um,
Now, I found some of those lots were not very wide. You know, if you get people with these big, long pickup trucks and things like that parking on both sides, there's not going to be much of a driving aisle in the middle.
and none of them are trailer friendly, I should say that.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
can only imagine people just, walking, trying to get to the beach and trying to get the cars through. I would anticipate a very slow crawl to get in and out of these parking lots.
So then we have our miscellaneous stuff that we talk about, which usually we talk about the sky, aurora and whatnot. That doesn't really apply here because it's kind of southernish facing and right over the GTA and whatever. So you're not going to see aurora there.
Yep.
Too much light pollution for bothering with sky viewing. And honestly, I think if you're there, you're probably too worn out by the time that becomes an issue because you're either on the beach all day or you're
Right.
birding all day. Like we definitely we were not up to look at the sky. So, and it was cloudy most of the time we were there. So we were not seeing stars at all.
Yep.
But I did want to talk about our campground that we were at because we were at West Lake Campground. We pulled up. Now, admittedly, we were already annoyed because the aforementioned sign issues, right?
Yep.
But we pulled up and the whole place looked trashy and we were judging immediately.
By trashy, it felt like an
unkempt big time.
Yeah, it was like an open field kind of feel.
You said it was giving abandoned drive-in theater vibes.
I did. It really felt like that, or if you go in a drive-in theater and you're the first one there and you're just looking around, and there's all these spots everywhere, but there's like nothing around.
But that's not on them. That part's not on them. But the part that is that all the grass that was on the sites was like that had not been touched by a mower since last year. I'm sure of it. There's no way that just grew this season. And it was yellow. The whole thing was yellow because it was all dandelions.
Everywhere,
right? Yeah. But then, so we were just kind of crabbing to each other about that because, we were already in a bad mood and just crabbing about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I had to eat my words because then they did decide to do maintenance during our stay.
They did.
And they had riding lawnmowers going. I don't know if they were just going over the same area over and over and over again, but they were going for hours and hours on end in our little area. And they were on our campsite for a good 20 minutes. Now, I had a big issue with this because we have cats in our RV. We have camped so much. We spent like a third of last year camping, I'm sure. And I have never once had Ontario Park staff come onto our site to do maintenance while we're on there. And this was broad daylight. I was in the camper and they've got this loud riding lawnmowers riding all around our stationary RV while we're in it. That seemed super uncalled for and honestly kind of invasive. Like I didn't like intrusive. Like, why are you on my site doing this?
Yeah, it's got to be tough logistically to work around it. But
in the summer,
I feel like that's part of the gig, right? You get all the open areas, you get all the empty lots, you make a note of which ones are occupied, and you try to come back and do them when they're not.
And if it was really busy, I wouldn't have so much of an issue with it. But we went there, I think the day after it opened or something. Like, I don't remember. When did it actually open? So it opened April. So we were there within 2 weeks of it opening, right?
Yep.
That was not 2 weeks worth of growth. That was a season worth of growth.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they didn't do this before opening. Because if they did it before opening, it would have been touch-ups.
Right.
You know what I mean? And not like a lawnmower, like a loud riding lawnmower that he had to wear ear protection for, literally a meter away from me.
Right.
In the RV, because it was right up against the RV and the cats were terrified. So I was not a fan of that, I gotta say. Do you have anything else to say about the miscellaneous? Not really, eh?
No, that's about it.
Okay, so campground amenities. Tell me about the creature comfort. So toilets, Porter, talk toilet to us.
Oh yeah, so all the campgrounds have at least one comfort station that has the flush toilets and showers, and
except for Richardson's.
Oh, all right. Is that the one we weren't able to get into?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And at least one comfort station in each campground has laundry. Does Richardson?
Richardson doesn't have a comfort station.
No, okay.
Oh my God.
So I'm tired.
I know you're tired.
So laundry's not denoted on the map, but they are there. I actually used the laundry, and it was pretty nice. In the West Lake Campground, they had 2 washers and 2 dryers. One of the washers was out of order. It happens, no big deal, and they worked fine.
Our comfort station was the nicest of all of them, though. Like, hands down. Like,
Yeah,
I'm sure. I have to wonder if our campground was the newest.
it looks very new. All the roads and everything
The
there seem
facilities were so much like the vault toilets looked like something I would actually use, as opposed to every other one in the park.
right. Absolutely. So there's also vault toilets. Per your last comment there, they are around. Westlake Campground actually has a barrier-free vault toilets. All of them are. So that was pretty cool to see.
But they're the only ones that have barrier-free vault toilets. Like, all of the vault toilets we saw in every other campground were not barrier-free, and they were the older style ones too.
Yep. You'll also find some vault toilets in the Outlet Beach day use area, the Dunes day use area, and the Lakeshore day use area. So what about the park store?
So the park store, there's 3 park stores in Sandbanks. 2 of the 3 were actually open during our stay. The main park store is kind of in between P3, P5, and P7. It was pretty cute. They had a decent selection of items for sale. A lot of it was beach related, so like toys and sunscreen, and they had some camping supplies and snacks and whatnot. You know those little bottles of Starbucks iced coffees they get for like $3 at Shoppers?
Yeah.
They're $6. $6, man.
I mean, it's a beach store.
It is, but damn,
But
$6.
they had pretty much anything that you might have forgotten. It was really cool. I saw lots of kids' toys and stuff to keep the kids busy. I thought that was a great idea.
A sign outside so they had a grill next to it too as part of it, and it had a sign outside saying "full hot breakfast" at the grill, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
What's weird is the Facebook and Twitter accounts are disabled for the park store has Facebook and Twitter, but they're all disabled, so I don't know. There's a site there's a page on the Friends of Sandbanks page. We've got that linked in our blog post.
Okay.
So anyways, beyond that, there's the Friends of Sandbanks Nature Shop, which was a hunt to find because it is listed as being in the visitor center. There is no visitor center at Presqu'île Park. Or Presqu'île. Now you're getting me. I'm tired. Sandbanks. So not only is there no visitor center listed on the map, there's no visitor center listed on the website either, and there's a section for visitor center. So I was not sure what's going on as far as that goes. Eventually, we did find the shop, and it's a very, very small one. Like you remember that's the one that's inside. I do. So it's in the Westgate office building, check-in building, whatever.
Yep.
It's just a really small selection of souvenirs and nature-themed items, stuff like that. Anyways, the third store is the Dunes Grill and Patio, and that's at the Dunes Beach, but that wasn't open during our stay.
Right.
So what can you tell us about the visitor center that does not exist?
So the visitor center was the one that was just the...
Yeah, I guess, well, we could just keep talking about it. So basically, there was no symbol for a visitor center or a discovery center, right? So the thing is the thing at the Westgate is referred to as a discovery center at the Westgate, and that gets interchangeably referred to as a visitor center elsewhere. Right. The people in the Westgate, when I asked about the visitor center, seemed confused that I was even asking about a visitor center. Yeah. And then when I said, oh, it's supposed to be in the main office building, which is what it was listed as on the park website, I think it was. Now, nothing on the map is referred to as main office building, by the way. Main park office. There's nothing. So it's like, which is supposed to be the main park office? So when I asked about visitor center, she said, well, this is the Discovery Center, so I guess that's close enough. Like, but she's like, I don't know, where did you see visitor center? And I'm like, on the park website. She just seemed confused that anyone's asking about a visitor center, because they're like, of course they don't have a visitor center. Yeah. So, and it was multiple places too. Yeah. So it's just, and then when I look closer at the map, there's no like symbol for it because there's a symbol for store, but that's not on the Westgate. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a dollar sign or something that was supposed to be for the store. I'm just looking real close. Yeah, dollar sign's park store, but it's not there isn't one on the Westgate campground entrance area. So like, I looked for everything, and then I finally saw the text over Westgate campground said like Westgate campground / park warden office, which is all I read. And I said there was extra text underneath it, and I usually just think that's like French or whatever, right? But what it said was Discovery Center / gift shop. So you have to not look for a symbol. You have to look for the words for it, which is silly because you've got a giant freaking legend right there. So I don't know. It was annoying. But anyways, as far as the actual Discovery Center.
So the Westgate has the Discovery Center. It's got some cute little displays. There's a really old clay pot. I can't remember how old it was off the top of my head.
I didn't see the clay pot.
I liked it because it was very large, and a lot of times when you see these old artifacts, there's just a piece of it or something very small, and I was like impressed. Oh, really large and in great condition. But that's really the kind of thing you're going to expect. There's not really a lot of it. It's just a few little things like that.
The fossil thing out front was really cute.
Out front was cute, yeah. So if you walk away, and there's no real sidewalk to this, you're kind of walking on the grass to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cute like wooden box display with a giant rock on it, and it's the sign says basically, "Can you find these kind of fossils?" And you look around, and sure enough, you can find those fossils, and it kind of got us excited for fossiling that we did later, and we'll get more into that in a little bit.
Yeah. So inside the visitor center itself, see, now I'm calling it the visitor center.
Yep.
Thanks, Sandbanks, screw me up. Anyway, inside the Discovery Center, there were like a couple little displays, but it was not. I don't know why they called it Discovery Center, because to me, it was basically that was a campground office.
Yeah.
And the displays were minimal enough that it was basically distract your kid for 5 minutes while you're registering. Like, this was not a destination in any way.
Exactly.
All right, so Porter is having me talk about the day use areas because they are kind of hard to keep straight. They all have completely different vibes, but the naming convention there makes it a little bit confusing. We're going to go alphabetically with these. I am going to say that each of the day use areas, for the most part, is attached to a beach, and we're going to talk about the beach aspect of it separately under the swimming, when we start talking about the swimming aspect of the park. So I'm just talking about the day use areas now. So the Dunes day use area is near the Westlake campground, and it's on Westlake. It's very small. There are a few mini picnic shelters there. It's got a playground, a canteen, and a grill. It was such a different vibe from the other ones because it was very dark because of all the tree canopy there, and it was a little bit grimy. It wouldn't be my first choice for day use for picnicking. I think it was a little bit too dark. I think. Would you say that?
It was, at least when the times that we were there. When we stopped by several
all different
times.
Days. Yeah, all different times a day. So it was just it just didn't strike me as a picnic area, you know? I don't know, it was kind of weird. Anyways, the Lakeland Lodge day use area. First, I'm going to say there are 2 day use areas that start out with lake shore, and there are 2 day use areas that have a lodge involved that both start with a lake also. So this is where it gets confusing. Lakeland Lodge day use area is on it's on the side of the road as you're going between the west and the east sections of the park. It's just kind of a little pull off with it's along a stretch of private property. It's the site of a long gone hotel, and there's a sign or 2 there, I think, that says a little bit about it. There's no picnic tables. The parking situation's really weird there.
It is.
There's no parking lot or anything. There's just unlabeled parking on the side of the road. So we weren't sure if you were supposed to parallel park or kind of pull in perpendicular. One person drove right out onto the grass, like to the edge, like near the lake. Don't think you're supposed to do that, but then there's no signage telling you not to. So anyways, a bit of directional signage is a good thing.
Yeah.
Now this one's the only one, I think it's the only one that doesn't have a beach attached to it. You can get down to the water, but it's kind of more of a rocky ledge and not really a swimming area, you know?
Yeah, right.
It's not really scenic. There's, like I said, there's no picnic tables. It's just kind of a weird day use area, but it's nice for watching ducks there. Now the Lakeshore Beach day use area is the day use area that's attached to Lakeshore Beach, as you can tell from the name. Now, what that is actually picnic tables in the parking lot for that beach. So the parking lot's a series of rows that have trees in between each row, and a washroom on like a vault toilet at the end of each row, and then just random picnic tables in there. So also not scenic, and I think that would be pretty chaotic with the cars driving in and out during the summer.
Yeah, because they're not striped spots. So it's not obvious that, hey, this is the picnic area.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's like parking. Oh, there's a table there. I guess I shouldn't park there.
I have to hope that maybe the picnic... I don't see... What I want to think is that the picnic tables aren't supposed to be there, and they're supposed to be out on the beach, and they'll be carried out there. I don't understand why they'd space them randomly on the grass instead of have them kind of in a staging area, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the deal is there. If the picnic area is intended to be in that parking lot, that is not very scenic. So
If you like parking lots, have I got the day use for you?
If you like birding, though,
Birding was great
but
there.
we
We'll
will
get to
talk.
that.
Yeah, we will talk about that later. Okay, so next up we have the Lakeshore Lodge day use area, which is geographically close to the Lakeshore Beach area, which is kind of at the south end of the beach. You just can't get to it directly from there, and you have to drive about 2 kilometers around it because there is some private property in the middle. So this day use area is also the site of a defunct hotel. But the difference between this one and the other one is this one's a much nicer picnic area and is set up for picnicking, but also it has some of the ruins of that hotel. Like it actually has some structure there. So it's interesting. It's got a lot more signage about it. But yeah, much prettier day use area than either of the other two because it's got this sprawling lawn and it's got picnic tables and you can overlooks Lake Ontario. It's got a great view of the Lakeshore Beach, just beautiful ledge. There's hiking trail coming out from there. You can go fossiling nearby. Overall, I think that was probably my favorite day use area in the park.
Yeah, this is the place to go in my opinion.
Yeah. The Outlet Beach day use area. Now this is the one that's I take to be the main beach of the park, but it's kind of hard to say where we haven't been there in the summer. This one, it's a weird parking and trail situation there to get up to the beach, so I can't see picnicking there unless you're already hanging out on the beach there.
Yeah.
There weren't many picnic tables out there during our visit, but maybe they're only brought out for the summer. I don't know. Anyways, those are the main day use areas of the park. Why don't you tell us about the rental situation?
Yeah, you can get some rentals at Sandbanks. You can rent out picnic shelters. There's 2 of them. One of them is by the Dunes Beach, and one's by the amphitheater at Outlet Beach.
2 large picnic shelters, you should say, because there are 2 different types of picnic shelters.
Correct. And there are 3 mini picnic shelters, all of which are at Dunes.
To be clear, the large picnic shelters are basically if you're hosting an event, and the small picnic shelters would host about a family, I'd say. They're kind of small. Yeah.
Great. There's also canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddle boards. You can rent those out of the wood yard, which is right by the parking lot P11. And you can borrow personal flotation devices with a $30 deposit. And they've got the all-terrain wheelchairs, which you mentioned earlier. Those have a $100 deposit. Sandbanks also offers a tackle share program, so that you can borrow fishing rods and tackle.
Cool. Another amenity is there is an EV charging station at the Westlake Comfort Station in the campground. It's an EVR-Green 4000 Leviton EV charging, if that means anything to you. Not to us so much. With a single charging port. It's only available from April 1st to November 1st, and it's currently free as of the point we're saying this. There's a sign on it saying that it's temporarily a free amenity as a promotion with part of a green initiative from Ontario Parks. The sign says that standard fees are going to apply in the near future, but doesn't actually specify what near future means. So take that with whatever grain of salt it needs to go with.
Yep. So campsite details. There's over 500 campsites here, so this is a pretty big park. Those are divided over 5 car camping areas. One of those is divided into 2 different sections even. And in addition to that, there's a group camping area, and there's also cottages to rent.
Yeah, so looking at the car camping areas, I guess alphabetically, the first is the Cedars Campground. That one was closed at the time of our visit. It's advertised as being more family-oriented. Apparently because of that it's got less traffic than other campgrounds, but I'm pretty sure somewhere I saw a picture of a playground there, but I'm not 100% on that. All the sites in that campground are non-electrical.
Over at the Outlet River campgrounds, there's 2 different sections. So they're on either side of the main park road, and they've got small loops in between the 2 main sections. Most of these are non-electric, but Outlet River A has hydro sites at the center of it, and that little loop of sites between the 2 main sections is all electric sites as well. Campground B was closed when we were there, so we didn't get to see it. When we did check out Campground A, most of them were really woodsy, and a few of them were along the water's edge, which was really cool. Those sound like they'd be really popular ones to try to book, though.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be able to get a hold of one of those. It's such a Hunger Games to get in there. Apparently, if you try to get one in the summer at all, like anywhere in the site, it's just in the campground, it's impossible.
Yeah. The further you get away from the water, the less kind of attractive the sites are. But there were a lot of trilliums this time of year. This was early May.
Pretty. That was really pretty.
So that was really great to see for sure.
There's a little loop of sites between the two that's definitely more geared to RVs.
Yeah.
That was a vibe of its own.
That it was a completely different vibe, absolutely. So it's basically just a big open loop of there were mostly camper vans that we saw in there at the time. And
Right up next to each other.
yeah, it seemed very much the least attractive sites in my opinion.
Yeah, it was. There was no privacy, very close together. It really felt like an afterthought to me, like they just tried to cram in a few more sites.
Yeah.
Very trailer park kind of feeling to me.
Yeah, if you're going to spend all day at the beach, maybe you don't care, but if you're going to spend your time at your site, it's not the best.
It was weirdly popular during our stay, though, in early May.
Yeah.
Then there's the Richardson campground. This one was closed at the time of our visit. We could see part of the campground when we were driving out to the Lake Shore Lodge day use area, and it seemed like really small and rustic and very kind of open, not much privacy. This is the only campground that doesn't have its own comfort station. Most of the sites are non-electrical, but there is a little loop that has their electrical service in there.
So over at the Westlake campground, there's 3 different loops, and they seem to be mostly electrical sites, and a lot of them are pull-through sites. So this was really working well for the large trailers, and we saw several really big rigs in that kind of area. The first on the right and the second to the right, kind of straight ahead, those happened to be very flooded when we were there.
Very flooded.
Yeah. Again, this is early May. There was a lot of the snow runoff still kind of happening in the area, so I don't know what to expect.
But we don't
later.
know because this is Southern Ontario, so there might not have been all that. I didn't see any snow in the park while we were there, so
right.
There had been a lot of rain though. So
yeah, I don't know what kind of situation you might expect later in the year, but this definitely had lots of water. One trailer we saw actually had a sump pump going and was trying to pump the water over the road to where nobody was camping.
That was wild. One, there was a guy that had his boat parked there, and it looked like the boat was like out of water. I mean, it was at water. It was just, it was weird. And we were not that far away from there, and our sites were all like not submerged.
We were kind of surprised because it's not like we were at the top of a hill.
No,
so
there didn't seem to be any elevation change, so it might just be a weird drainage issue on those 2 sites. But that's basically if you're coming into the loops, like to Westlake Campground, the 2 loops to the right are the ones that flooded.
Yep.
Oh, there was also one of the sites was so flooded there were ducks swimming on it.
That was kind of funny.
It was cute though, but I mean, I wouldn't want to be camping there. That would be
no
pretty terrible. Anyway, the Woodlands campground is one of the 3 campgrounds that has its own trailer sanitation station. It's got 3 kind of sections of loops of sites, all of which have electrical service. We were kind of jealous of this campground because it all seemed much better maintained than ours did at the time of our stay, and it had better privacy. Some of the sites were wooded, some were kind of more out in the open like ours was, but they'd all definitely seen a mower like much more recently than ours had, until they came on our site. This one also had a lot of trillium flowers in some sections of the campground, and it's known as a hotspot for birding. I know that's come up on the Audubon app a lot of times, that I guess the Woodlands campground itself is just a hotspot. Anyway,
yep.
I think next time we stay at Sandbanks, if we can't get one of those waterfront ones in the Outlet A, I think we'll be staying in the Woodlands. Yeah, because it was nicer shape.
Definitely. So group camping is another option. There's 2 different group camping areas.
There's one area.
Sorry, there's 2 different group campsites. You actually have to leave the park entirely, drive through this little touristy area, and then come back into the park on the other side of the road. It's kind of weird, but it's not all that far away.
Maybe 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
From the main gate. Yep.
It's really, really rough.
Rustic. Yeah, rustic. We'll call it rustic.
So it's tent camping only, and there wasn't a lot of great level spots for tents that we saw.
Wouldn't want to bring anything like a trailer through there anyway. We went through in our car, and that was going to lose a tire or something.
Right. Anyway, both of them have a vault toilet nearby, and there's garbage and recycling between the 2. And you're not really super close to the other group camping sites, so you got some separation there, which is nice.
For roofed accommodations, it's kind of a weird setup because generally speaking, the roofed accommodations in the campgrounds and the provincial park campgrounds, they look pretty standard. Like the cabins kind of all look sort of similar across parks. The yurts all look similar across parks. There's 2 cottages. One's the Jacques Cottage, and the other one is the Maple Rest Heritage House. Now, the Jacques Cottage is in a weird location because you have to drive down a little residential street and pass a bunch of houses, and then you come to another house that you would never know is a Provincial Park cabin, aside from the fact that it has signage on the front that says as much.
Yep.
It sleeps 4 and it overlooks Lake Ontario. Now the Maple Rest Heritage House, that one's odd because it doesn't look anything like any roofed accommodation. I mean, the other one doesn't look like any roofed accommodation I've seen at any Ontario park either. But this one straight up looks like, do you remember when we went to Hastings and we stayed in that B&B?
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
It really does.
Yeah. So anyways, it looks like a B&B, and apparently it's got 4 bedrooms and sleeps 8 people. They both have their whole long lists of restrictions on what you have to bring and whatnot. So we've got a link to the page for full details in the blog entry for this review, because I'm not going over like you need to bring your blankets and you can't do this and you have to do this and this costs this and there's a lot of it. It's a lot. They
sound really cool though.
They do sound really cool. I want to know how much that Heritage House is to rent though.
Oh,
it's going to be a ton, and I bet you they've got like long. I think when I looked it up, there was like a week-long stay or something minimum. So I bet that's. I would imagine that's thousands of dollars for the week. Yeah. Yeah, I would bet. So anyway, what can we do in Sandbanks?
Well, you might be surprised to learn that a lot of people like to go swimming there, but there's more than that. Hiking is one of our favorite activities, so let's start with that.
I'd already mentioned that little coded card that I really liked at the hiking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that was kind of the coolest thing about the hiking. No, I mean, you know what I mean? So most of the trails at Sandbanks aren't really hiking trails, as we've come to know. Like if they're a destination trail, you want to go see this, there's some special stuff to see or nice views or whatever. Most of the named trails at Sandbanks are like walking paths that would not be named in other campgrounds. Like they're basically just to get from this campground to that beach, or to get from this campground to that campground, or to get from here to the comfort station. Like just the really basic walking paths.
Yeah.
More so than a destination trail. There's 2 destination trails. That's the Cedar Sands Trail and the Dunes Trail.
Yep.
Anyways, let's go over all the trails kind of in alphabetical order. Cedar Sands Trail, you did that one.
I did. So you go up a dune and then back down it via some stairs. So there's a lot of stairs near the beginning, and there's a fair amount of inclines overall.
There is a dune there? I didn't realize that.
There is. I guess it looks more like a really big hill in that area because it's more grassy covered, but it is fair. You know what I mean? It's not the just bare sand dune.
Okay.
But you are going up and then down rather steeply. So there's also a fair amount of boardwalks on this path, which I love boardwalks. These were a little bit older, where the footings have maybe settled and they're not so level anymore. Stable. I didn't feel like I was going to fall through or anything, just a little wonky. There's a couple outlooks. I love outlooks as well, so I checked those out. And
overlooking Outlet River, I guess.
Yes, it is. Checked those out, enjoyed the view for a little bit, and came back, and it was a lovely walk.
Okay. Lakeview Trail, we only did a little bit of it. This one's 3.5 kilometers as a line, so it's like 7 kilometers long. There's some discrepancy between the site and the little handout and whatnot, so I don't actually know what the actual thing is because we didn't do the whole thing.
Yep.
Anyways, we did the part of the loop that's accessible from the Lakeshore Lodge day use area. Yes, we did from the Lakeshore Lodge, because it see, this is where I get screwed up. The trail goes between Lakeshore Lodge day use area and Lakeland Lodge day use area. But then they kind of get me more screwed up because the park refers to it as Lakeview Lodge on their website, and there is no Lakeview Lodge.
Yep.
So you've got the 2 that you're already kind of messing with anyway, and then they throw this other one in that doesn't even exist. So anyway, so this goes when you leave via the Lakeshore Lodge day use area, about 200 meters in, you come to an area that's called West Point. Now, West Point is referred to several times on the website and whatnot, but it doesn't exist on the map. I mean, West Point itself existed on the map. It's just not labeled as such.
Yep.
So they'll say, oh, blah, blah, at West Point, and you don't know where West Point is. So we had to figure that out. It's the point at the west end of the park, though. Spoilers. So anyways, West Point is good for fossil hunting. Now, the fossils are on just kind of the shelf of really rough rock that's right over the water there.
Yep.
It was really difficult to go fossiling there. Maybe we're spoiled by like Craigleith and Rock Point.
Yeah.
Where there's just fossils and you can just see them very clearly. This was like, it almost looked like roughed up concrete that got broken up, you know?
It
Or
really
something.
did, and there were definitely fossils there, but to find clearly defined ones, it took us like a
Yeah.
minute or so between, and be like, "Oh, I'm pretty sure this one
More
is
than a
one."
minute. It was work. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't just like you're taking a stroll and every, couple steps you're seeing fossils under your feet. This was like you have to look really close.
right, but still
So yeah, it
enjoyable.
was
I mean,
totally
they're
fun.
fossils.
So there's the McDonald Trail, which you did part of. That was the one that left from Lake Shore Lodge day use area, and you had to go by a farm, and you felt like you were trespassing.
Oh my, yeah.
So
So
I just gave the spoilers for the whole thing.
you're at this weird day use area where you're not sure where to park, and if you look on the other side, you see what looks like an abandoned farm, and no hint that this is actually a trail.
No, it looks like someone's
Driveway.
driveway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a dirt driveway. And so I walked down there because there's supposed to be a trail there.
Well, and that was after we consulted Pokemon Go, because that's usually the best source of info on mapping for trails.
It really is. And lo and behold, yes, there is a sign, a little bit into here, just a really small sign indicating that, yes, this is the McDonald Trail. And that's really about it. I walked a little ways in. I saw a cool raven's nest. I decided this wasn't the trail for me, and I turned back. So
This is one of those campground walking path trail situations. Like
yeah,
not a destination trail by any means.
but where I was walking, there were like two ruts, like clearly service
Like a
vehicles, or
road, yeah.
service vehicles or something had been driving down there. So it just feels like you're driving through a dirt road
Yeah,
or
and it
walking
looked
through.
like that on the other end also that was near the Westgate campground. It's basically just a path to get from Westgate campground to Lakeland Lodge day use area.
Okay,
So then we did the Sandbanks Dunes Trail.
yeah,
So we were going to do the whole trail together. This has two options. One is a 2.5 kilometer loop, and one is a 1 kilometer barrier free loop. I was feeling brave that day, and we got to the point where they split off, and I looked up, and it was a big hill of sand that looked like loose, soft sand. I'm like, no, my tendons are not doing that today. So you did the longer part by yourself.
I did. So yeah, you do have to go up a pretty steep section of sand, and it is the difficult sand to walk up, like you mentioned. After you get past that, it does get mostly easier. So there's still some sections of the soft sand. They've got sections that are, I guess, kind of like boardwalk. It's basically just boards right on the ground, just more, I guess, as an erosion control. You do walk by some marshy areas, which are kind of nice, and it kind of rotates between this. You're next to a little bit of marshy area, you're in this light woodsy area, and you're on the sand kind of area. So it's kind of nice that it's not just kind of monotonous. It really kind of
Mm.
rotates out. So I found it enjoyable, and it's different than a lot of trails we do, because 99% of the trails we do are walking through the woods one way or another.
Or a lake shore, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So to have this kind of sandy trail is kind of like, oh, well, this is something different.
While you were doing that part, I was doing the barrier-free loop that I already ranted at length. So basically, that one's a flat, wide, well-packed gravel road, or like trail, I guess. It's probably a meter or more wide for the most part. And it just kind of takes you through, I don't know what you call it. It's not wetland. Maybe sort of wetland off to one side. I went past a set of trees at one point that had a ton of birds. Just a nice little walk, but nothing really special.
Mm-hmm.
At the point I met up with your trail, that we could both walk the end of it together, you had some really cool dunes over there. So I did kind of go a little bit back on your side of the trail to see these giant dunes overlooking Westlake.
And well, that area was kind of interesting because it had been saying the whole time, stay on the trail, don't ruin the dunes, basically.
Tons
And
of people on the dunes.
well, this little section not only did it have a lot of footprints, but there was a picnic table off to the side, and I'm like, well, clearly you're saying it's okay to go over there, but
Yeah,
it was a little weird. So I did walk up there. I was careful not to damage anything,
they
but
did the Pinery thing.
yeah.
Pinery has a sign. I've got a picture of a sign at Pinery that says "Stay off the dunes," and the dunes behind it, behind the sign, has a picnic table. Like right in the dunes, you're supposed to stay off. I don't know what they do. That's so whatever. Anyway, Woodlands Trail that's another campground trail. It basically meanders through some fields and forests, and just it takes you from the Dunes Beach to the East Gate, and it lets you off at Westgate Campground, the West Lake Campground, or what did I say? West Lake Campground, McDonald Trail, Woodlands Campground, like along the way. It seemed
Yeah.
pretty basic, but again, that's a bird hotspot.
So for biking, it's a great area to bike in general, but there aren't actually any bike trails specifically at Sandbanks. You can bike on the campground roads. The Lakeview, McDonald, Richardson's, and Woodland trails are bike friendly.
Yeah, but as far as the whole area goes, Prince Edward County is like known to be a place for just big bike touring, you know? So apparently it's pretty scenic and they've got it's a whole thing. So let's talk about swimming, because Sandbanks is known for the swimming. We went in early May, so it was definitely too cold to go out on one of the Great Lakes to go swimming, so we didn't do that. We should say that dogs aren't allowed on any of the swimming beaches. There's no lifeguards posted at any of them, so swimmers do so at their own risk, same as all the other Ontario Provincial Park beaches.
Yep.
So there are 3 main beaches with day use areas, plus a small campers beach. Completely different vibes at each one.
Absolutely different.
Dunes Beach, I'm glad we didn't go to the Dunes Beach first, because that was not a good looking beach. And I think I'm very, I think I'm a snob about little lakes beaches. Like, I don't like the beaches that are on small lakes that are all marshy and mucky. And this had like the foam stuff and the slime, and it was not attractive. I would not go in there. You know what I mean? I think you'd need some shots, personally.
It's not a destination beach. It's oh, hey, I guess there's water. We could swim there if you feel up to it.
They should have made that the dog beach, honestly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyways, the next one's the Lakeshore Beach. Lakeshore Beach, 100% my favorite. Like,
yes.
No question, 100% my favorite. Honestly, we had gone there the first night that we were there, and we were both kind of hating the park at that point, because we were like, there was the whole situation getting there, and signage, and then there was the like trashy looking lawn that hadn't been touched, and the flooding and just everything. And you know, we were after talking to my friend who was saying about the lines out to the highway. So we had just not a good impression of this park at all. And we were kind of like, how is this park so popular?
Yeah.
So I got on this trail from the, I guess, north side of the Lakeshore Beach parking lot and just wandered out to the beach. And it's kind of a long-ish trail. It's sand and kind of hilly and whatever. I'm grumbling. I walk out, and as I walk out, now you have to understand, the entire time we were at this park, it was like overcast and gross. So I walk out to the beach, and it's like the sky opened up, and it was blue, and the water was so blue, and the sand was so clean, and it was like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yep.
like I see why this park is popular. The beach is gorgeous. So had it been, you know, not early May on Lake Ontario, I totally would have gone in. But I think I'm a sucker for like really clear blue water. There was white caps because it had been rainy and windy and whatever. It was so gorgeous. So if you look at our post for this, and all of my photography is like gray and dingy and overcast and meh, and then you see like the beautiful beach, that is the day it happened. It was like we got like half an hour of sun, and we took full advantage for those beach shots, and then everything else was straight to overcast.
Yep.
Anyway, Outlet Beach, Porter, you went out on that one.
Yeah, so this is the big beach with 12 parking lots for the area. So I imagine this is the most popular just because you can park there, right? I walked up these crazy inclines to get over the dune to get there. Like you said, in the accessibility section, there's a couple areas that are a little easier, but most of these accesses, you're hiking up this dune.
Like 45 degrees or more in some cases. Like those were steep.
So then I get to the beach area, and I am immediately underwhelmed. They've got 2 rows of what I call snow fencing, because it's those vertical slats and they're wood. I imagine they're erosion control for something about the dunes, and I understand they're trying to protect this natural environment, and I'm all for that.
It's just not attractive.
They're so ugly, and it just looks so trashy, and I'm like, if I like waited in line for 2 hours or whatever to get here and hauled all my stuff, and it was greeted with this gross, ugly fencing, I would just be really, really disappointed. So,
I mean, to be fair, you did visit Outlet after we saw Lakeshore Beach, and you did see it on like cloudy, miserable. So it was kind of, there was a lot of stuff working against this beach to start.
Yeah. Now the two good parts about it is that ugly snow fencing is pretty far away from the actual water, or at least it was this time of year. I don't know how much it might vary.
I don't know where shoreline ends up.
So once you get set up on the beach, and if you, generally speaking, you're not going to be turning around that much, you're going to be looking at the gorgeous water, and you can still have a great time.
I like that you're so triggered by a fence.
I know.
Like, if you don't see the fence, you'll still have a good time. What, Porter?
It's ugly. The other thing is that fence does not go across the entire area. So one of these.
Yeah, I think it was the earlier on it was fenced, and then later on it wasn't.
I went over to, I think it was like P10 or P12, and went to the beach, and there was no fence there. I was like, all right, this is great.
So if you really hate fencing like Porter does,
this is ugly.
If it's going to ruin your beach experience, then go to one of the other ones.
Definitely.
Then there's the Outlet River Campground Beach, which is like sort of attached to the Outlet River Beach because it's just kind of across the mouth of the Outlet River.
Yeah.
Outlet River looked like it was barely ankle deep when we were there.
Yeah.
You know? So you could probably just walk across, honestly. But this is more intended for the campground, like the Outlet River Campground. There are 2 parking spots, as I discussed, that are only for parking, little parking lots that are only for disabled parking. But it's a cute little sandy beach. Further on is a little bit more rocky and whatever. Yep. But it's just, honestly, if I was there as a camper, I would stick to that beach and I wouldn't go over to the Chaos Fest that I'm assuming the main one is. Oh, hey, now we get to discuss birding. Are you ready to give the
list?
The list. Do you remember when we watched Pokemon? When we watched Pokemon, like when we started Pokemon Go and we watched the cartoon a few times. Do you remember the Pokemon rap?
Yeah.
You need to do that. You need to do that. Anyways, like this park, I think maybe not, but
that is not going to happen right now.
Anyway, so we visited Sandbanks right after we'd come from Presqu'île, which is really known for birding.
Definitely.
Sandbanks barely mentions birding on their site.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I've never heard Sandbanks brought up in a birding context, which is kind of weird because it's kind of on the same, it's not on the same bay, but it's like you could boat across, really. Yeah. I think, it's pretty close to Presqu'île. So we had a fabulous time with the birding at Sandbanks, more so than Presqu'île, like by far more so than Presqu'île.
We did. It seemed like every area that we visited had like a different selection of birds, so even at our campground, there were a lot of sparrows, but there were different kinds of sparrows.
Yeah. And we saw a lot of birds for the first time for us, or got the first photos that we've had for them. And the interesting thing to me is that it felt like the rules didn't really apply, because you know how you're supposed to go like first thing in the morning and go when it's kind of sunny and they'll be more active. No, our best birding happened when it was raining.
Yeah.
Like you were out chasing a scarlet tanager while it was pouring.
Yeah.
Because they were so active. So it was just really interesting. Anyway, our favorite birding spot was on the northwest corner of that Lakeshore Beach parking lot, which inexplicably just wild with different fancy birds.
It really was. And the interesting thing is there's a little bit of a trail that goes away from there. And I figured that if I ventured further away from the parking lot, maybe I'd keep getting more. The bird activity actually faded away. It was right at the parking lot.
Really liked that parking lot. And our whole thing started out with a stupid killdeer.
Oh, yeah.
That like to just kind of camp out on the road, and we almost hit him after Porter almost hit a killdeer at Presqu'île too.
Yeah.
This is going to be a thing. He has never hit a killdeer. But they tend to like to. Actually, you almost hit one at Rondo also. You're turning this into a thing, Porter.
I like killdeer. I am not trying to kill.
It's not a name. Yeah, don't kill the killdeers.
All right.
Anyways, yeah. So, anyways, this is a thing. So, anyways, they really like that parking lot. So, overall, during our relatively short stay at Sandbanks, Porter, what did we see or hear? Wrap it.
American goldfinch, American redstart, American robin, American crow, Baltimore oriole, black-capped chickadee, black-throated green warbler, blue-gray gnatcatcher, blue-headed vireo, blue jay, brown creeper, brown-headed cowbird, brown thrasher, Cape May warbler, chipping sparrow, common grackle, common merganser, common raven, common tern, common yellowthroat, dark-eyed junco, eastern bluebird, eastern kingbird, eastern meadowlark, eastern phoebe, eastern toady, eastern sorry, I messed that up. I knew I was gonna do that. European starling, field sparrow, golden crowned kinglet, great blue heron, great crested flycatcher, great catbird, hermit thrush, house finch, house sparrow, killdeer, least flycatcher, long-tailed duck, marsh wren, merlin, mourning dove, mute swan, Nashville warbler, northern cardinal, northern flicker, northern house wren, northern parula, osprey, palm warbler, red-bellied woodpecker, red-breasted merganser, red-winged blackbird, ring-billed gull, rose-breasted grosbeak, ruby-crowned kinglet, scarlet tanager, song sparrow, swamp sparrow, Tennessee warbler, tree swallow, turkey vulture, veery, warbling vireo, white-throated sparrow, wild turkey, yellow-rumped warbler, and yellow warbler.
Do you need a breath?
So we also saw some other wildlife.
We did. We saw a lot of deer. And
we saw a lot of them.
there was a corner, the corner that basically comes from the West Beach. Is it West Lake Campground?
Yep.
Where you can decide to go on to Lakeshore Beach or Lakeshore Lodge. That corner always had like tons of deer.
Yeah, definitely. They were like, they would allow us to get really close. So we had great photo opportunities there. We also saw a raccoon and wild turkeys. Well, we mentioned wild turkeys, but we saw them around on the roads.
So in terms of boating, the boating options are a bit weird. You can go boating on East Lake, West Lake, and Lake Ontario, but there's only one boat launch in the park, and it's not big enough to really launch anything that would go onto Lake Ontario safely. Because you need kind of a fairly big boat for that, you know? That boat launch is really small, kind of janky, and it opens into really shallow water. Like I said, it looked like it was probably ankle deep at the time we went there, because I looked far out because there were swans swimming by, and you could see the bottom.
Yeah.
Very easily. Very, very shallow. It's listed as being suitable for boats 18 feet long. And at the time of our visit, I would say that is being very generous. I could not see floating an 18-foot boat on that. Like, I think if you could get a canoe or a kayak and not bottom out, I would be surprised. So, again, that's probably a time of year thing. But basically, there's a small parking lot across the street from that boat launch. That's for vehicles with trailers only. Now, power boats are allowed on all three of those lakes, but not on the beaches or near the swimming areas. It would be easy enough to put a canoe in on West Lake from the Dunes Beach area because it's not that far from the parking lot. East Lake can be accessed via Outlet River. And then one other thing to mention is the park only mentions having one boat launch, but the rentals woodshed area has what looks to be a canoe launching area.
Yeah.
Like there's kind of a little, it's not like a formal ramp, but it looks like it gets used to put canoes on the river. So
it's kind of rocky, but there's a gradual slope into the water, so it looks really great for me. To me. All right, so fishing. You can go fishing on East Lake and West Lake. It's known for northern pike, panfish, smallmouth and largemouth bass, and yellow pickerel.
So, but what are northern pike known for?
Singing.
Anyway, you can also go fishing in Lake Ontario, but as I said, none of the boat launches in the park are big enough for the boats that you need to, if you're going to fish on Lake Ontario.
Yep. So what about the Discovery program?
Okay, so like most of the Ontario provincial parks, they do have Discovery programming, so interactive educational programs, but it's only during their main season. The park's website description of the Discovery program mentions stopping by the visitor center. There is no visitor center. That doesn't exist. They probably mean the Discovery Center in the West Gate, but if you're looking for the visitor center, good luck. There is an amphitheater down by the Outlet Beach area, so they are definitely set up to do some kind of like large-scale programming during the busy season. I'm assuming they're going to post the schedules all over the place when it is in season. There just wasn't anything up while we were there.
Yep.
I don't know how they do any programming at the Westgate Center though, because that's not, like we'd said earlier, it's just like a gatehouse. It's a small gatehouse, and maybe they do it outside, but there's no
good area.
There's no area
gather
for it, so it's just bizarre. Anyways, how about Niantic games?
So if you're into Pokemon Go or Ingress, there are a bunch of portals, Pokegyms, Pokestops throughout the park. So every campground's got at least a couple around, and then they're scattered around the beaches and stuff too. If you really want to get a good concentration of them, go to the Lakeshore Lodge day use area and the Dunes Beach area. Since we had great cell phone coverage, like we mentioned earlier, it worked really well for us.
Yeah. So we don't normally cover nearby attractions in my posts anymore because I'm lazy about that. But we took a bit of a field trip one of the days to go to Lake on the Mountain Provincial Park. We've got a whole post for that. We could probably link it in the description here.
Yep.
But on the way there, we passed what looked like a really old army base. Like it looked like it shouldn't still be standing. You know, like very old. So we Googled and it found out that it's a decommissioned, repurposed World War II Air Force training base, which is cool in and of itself. But it's actually a concert venue and tourist attraction now. It's got this bougie outdoor restaurant. It's got like a beer hall and an exhibition hall with like actual planes in there. And they've got Escape Camp Picton, that we saw a sign for, and we looked
Yeah.
this up, and it's an indoor-outdoor escape room company with a World War II theme. Now, World War II has become an unwitting special interest of mine since I moved to the US in 2006.
Yeah.
So that looked very, very cool, but we only found it on our last day of our trip, so we didn't go. But sometime.
It looks like a great area to explore. I wish I'd heard of it earlier because, yeah, definitely would like to check that out in the
Now I
future.
get a ton of Facebook ads for it because we were there and I said it. So Facebook's been listening. So now they have like a big Pride Fest there and stuff like that. And
Nice.
the idea of a Pride Fest happening on a World War II Army basis, I like that. I think that's really cool.
It's
Anyway,
great.
let's talk our final thoughts on this park.
So I had heard a lot about it. Everybody seems to love it, and it sounds really popular, which had me really nervous. I don't see the major appeal. I like the park, but I don't see why it gets lines out to the highway like you
Because
said.
there's giant beaches, Porter.
I know. And I enjoy beaches, but to be honest, I really prefer the kind of beach that we have close to us in Burlington. To me, it's a lot more friendly and inviting than this.
Well, it's also easier to get to and everything, and you don't have to line up for all day. But yeah, to me, I just found it a really mixed bag. Like the camping seemed kind of like an afterthought. That one beach was gorgeous. The other two beaches, not so much. It was weird to me that the birding was a much better attraction for us than the beaches anyway.
Right.
And I mean, we're not really beach people in the first place, I guess.
True.
You know, like, because even with we have a gorgeous beach near our house. We go there a couple times a year, maybe. I think we sound pretty hipster when we talk about the campgrounds that we like because we both kind of brace when we hear something's really popular. Like the most popular parks we don't like. You know, like Pinery we're not so big on, Sybil Point we're not big on.
Right.
But they're the big crowds, like just big like chaos fests, you know. And we did Wasaga Beach on Canada Day one time, and that was enough. You know?
It was great to observe.
It was good for people watching, like going to a zoo, but maybe on a less popular day, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be back. Like I know it kind of sounded like we trash talked it, especially as the disability stuff, because they are terrible with their accessibility. But the birding and the beach, like I'd go back next spring, but I don't think I'd go any other time of year.
Right. So like we talked earlier, now we've been able to explore. We know which campgrounds, which area of the campgrounds we want to stay at.
Where the visitor center is.
Exactly. So, you know, we can fight for those spots, specifically go during the birding season that we like, enjoy the tranquility of Sandbanks, not quite to ourselves, but kind of close.
I mean, we had it almost to ourselves. Like there were people there, but it's big enough that the few people were very spread out. So it didn't feel like we had people like up our butts.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, so we'll be back anyway.
Yeah, check out all this information online on our blog. You can see everything all written out in nice coherent text instead of our rants.
Babbling. Well, no, I mean they're still ranting. It's just
they're still ranting.
More well thought out, not off the cuff and whatnot.
Right. While you're there, subscribe to our quote newsletter. All it does is tell you when we have a new review out. It doesn't actually give you a newsletter, so to speak.
I am far too lazy for writing newsletters. So no, I will not harass you. You'll just get an automatic email that says, hey, there's new posts this week.
Yep. And then while you're here, you can like and subscribe us if you want to hear more of our rants and reviews on YouTube.
Yeah, good stuff. See you later.